How are you guys doing today? Today I want to be telling you what I think my personal opinion is on your attachments slash loadout slash equipment for the attacking operators in Rainbow Six Siege. Now, the first thing I want to say before I get this going is this is all purely opinion based. You might want to run a different, you might prefer a different weapon than me. You might prefer a different sight, different attachments, whatever. This is personally what I think you should use if you're getting new to the game, you're unsure of what attachments to use. So I'm going to start off with Sledge. Now with Sledge, if you want to just have fun and casual, you can obviously run a shotgun. But personally, if you want to play more competitive, you should run the L85 and the SMG11 together. On his on his L85, I like to run an ACOG, a compensator, and a vertical grip. ACOG because you have you have a bigger field of view. The compensator, it actually helps with the recoil so much. I used to run a flash hider, but it would just bounce around to the side a little bit. The compensator completely negates that. And of course, you can't have anything else over the vertical grip. You could run a laser sight, but personally, it doesn't help the AD. It doesn't help the hip fire that much, and more likely than not, I don't find myself hip firing. SMG11, obviously take that over the pistol. You can either run a reflex or a hollow sight. I like to alternate between the two, and a compensator and a vertical grip. Moving on to Thatcher. The LA5 and AR-33 are both very good options. I like to switch between them. I like on the AR-33, I like to run a flash hider, just because more likely than not, I find myself tap firing. And of course, just run a pistol. I always run a muzzle brake and a laser sight just in case I have to panic hit fire, which happens a lot. Moving on to Ash. Now, I have been going back and forth on your R4C between running an ACOG or a reflex sight, and personally, they both work really well. You can go with either or. I generally like to run a flash hider because I find a compensator to be a bit too much, and it seems like the horizontal recoil isn't that bad with a flash hider or a compensator, and of course run a vertical grip. And I personally like to run the 5.7 over the M45 because the 5.7 has almost no recoil and has 20 rounds, and it does a little bit less damage, and it's just the iron sights are much clearer. Thermite. Now, his 5.56 is probably one of the more solid weapons that you'll have on offense. You could obviously run the M10, but if, like I said, you want to play more competitive and try hard, the 5.56 is your best move. I like to run an ACOG, a flash hider, and a vertical grip. You can run an angle grip, but more than likely not. When you're opening up the reinforced walls, you're going to be ADSing a lot, and the angle grip probably won't do you much help there. Moving on to Twitch, probably my favorite operator to ever run. She has probably the best offensive weapon, the F2 or the FAMAS. It has stupidly fast DPS. I like to run an ACOG, a flash hider, and a vertical grip. You can also run a muzzle brake. It does pretty much the same job. If you look at the recoil pattern, it does almost the exact same. The DMR and a shotgun are both fairly good choices, but I feel like when you have the F2, it's just much better. If you want to run the P9, I would honestly prefer run that over the revolver. It's got really good damage and low recoil and a high magazine count. You can personally run breaching charges or claymore if you want. They both seem like decent gadgets. I mean, I alternate between the two myself. On a Montecristo, you can't have a different primary because of that's his primary gadget is a extendable shield. You can honestly go whichever one you prefer with him. I personally, like I said, I run a P9 because I'd rather have a higher fire rate, less recoil, and a higher magazine count and decent damage. Often, he's found in bombs, so you're going to want to bring smoke grenades. Moving on to Glaz, probably a very fun operator to run ever since they buffed him in Parabellum. On his DMR, I think you should honestly run a holographic and a muzzle brake. All three of the sites are actually very good. All the Russian sites are very nice. I personally enjoyed the holographic site. And the pistols, it doesn't really matter, but I think you should run a PMM because it does 61 damage, has no recoil, and it's an amazing gun. It's just an absolute cannon. It takes out people so easily. On Fuse, everybody's favorite hostage player. I personally think the AK-12 is probably one of the best. It's probably one of the best guns in the game. It's got a high fire rate, good damage, and not that much recoil. I like to run a flash hider and an ACOG and vertical grip with it. And go to the PMM. Honestly, we use him in bomb a lot. Me and my squad, we use him in bomb a ton, so I'd bring smoke grenades. On a Blitz, probably the most annoying operator to go against. You can't really have a unique loadout. We use him in bomb a lot as well. We use shields a lot in bomb, so bring smoke grenades or breaching charges, depending on whichever one you want to run. On IQ, all of her primaries are amazing, but I love the Commando. Does 48 damage, and his fire rate is pretty good considering his damage, and it has virtually no recoil. On the P12, since you're going to be taking out gadgets, you're going to have it out a lot, I would prefer a muzzle brake over suppressor, mainly because if you get caught with it out, you don't have that less damage, but of course you just aim for the head, that means fuck all. And obviously bring frag grenades with her. She's one of the only 3 operators you can do it, along with Sledge. And our next attacker, Buccarino. If you both primaries are very good, although I will say his AR does take a lot of time to get used to because it has probably the highest recoil in the game since you can't put a vertical grip on it due to the skeleton key you see underneath it there. But I have my most attacking hours on Buck. I play him a ton. I always run his ACOG flash hider and a laser sight. And if you're just starting out with Buck, I'd recommend using the DMR until you practice with the AR. The DMR is very, very good. With the skeleton key, you can make some crazy line of sights. I'd run an ACOG and a muzzle brake on it. On to Nerf Beard, everybody's favorite troll op. Both of his primaries are fairly good. The DMR is very, very good. They buffed it. They gave it less recoil, so it's very, very nice now. And the Scar is also a fairly good gun as well. On the Scar, I run an ACOG, vertical grip, flash hider, and a laser sight. And on the DMR, I run an ACOG, muzzle brake, and vertical grip. You don't really want to run any other barrel attachment except for maybe a suppressor because it does sound pretty damn cool with a suppressor on it. On to Capitao. His Para 308 got a big buff a couple patches ago. It got more damage and less recoil, which made him much, much, much liked and favored. I run an ACOG vertical grip and a flash hider. You can often change out the vertical grip for an angle grip, and I've personally liked both of them as well. I like to run a Claymore with him because a lot of times we use him on Clubhouse where Claymores are very, very key on that map. On to Habana. She's got probably one of the more fun guns to use in the game. With her primary, it's very, very strong. It's got low recoil and a good fire rate, but it has a 20 round mag, so make sure you're connecting your shots. You can change out the flash hider for a compensator if you prefer. And I also run a vertical grip and an ACOG on her Type 89. I really don't see myself running the other two, the shotgun, the pistol. But the Bearing 9 is a very fun gun to use. I personally, it's one of my favorite guns to use. I'll find myself using it over the Type 89, but I run a reflex, compensator, and a laser sight. And stun grenades I find much more viable than breaching charges just because of how her playstyle is. Onto Jackal. He's got 2 amazing, amazing primaries. I personally prefer the C7E due to its time to kill is super, super short if you're connecting all your shots. And of course, run a secondary shotgun, creating lines of sight and just destroying hatches or soft and walls and all that is very, very useful, and it brings a much, much more versatility to him. And we use him in bomb a lot due to his smoke grenades, so take those if you want to. Ying, back when she had her smoke grenades, she was such a fun op to play on bomb, but now you can't do that anymore because they realized how strong it was. But her LMG did get a buff, which made her much, much more useful. It does 43 damage now. Before it was like 33, which was really, really lackluster and underwhelming. I ran an ACOG flash hider and a vertical grip on her. Her shotgun's actually really fun to use. I don't use it a lot though, and depending on the site, I will either run a breach charge or a Claymore. Moving on to Sofia. She has a very, very good AR, and I'm finally getting better with her, and I'm starting to use her a lot more. On her gun, I run an ACOG, a flash hider, and a vertical grip. And of course, on her secondary, you gotta run a laser sight just to have that green laser sight. You gotta show some love to it. Moving on to Cabbie or Cabbie, however the fuck you say her name. I don't know. Everybody pronounces it different. But you can use the Boss G if you just want to meme on people, but if you're playing competitive, I don't recommend it. I recommend using her MK14. It's got probably one of the reduced recoils, least amount of recoils. I don't know where my words are. But I prefer running an ACOG, angle grip, and a muzzle brake on her. And her SMG-12 or C7.5, they're all very, very good. But with the SMG-12, I like to run a vertical grip and a reflex sight. And I don't recommend putting a suppressor on C7.5 because it just reduces the damage and it's not very, very useful. Smoke grenades or Claymore are very useful. I run smoke grenades more than Claymore. I just had the Claymore set from last game. On the Lion, until he got nerfed super hard, he was probably the most overpowered operator. His V308 is honestly one of the more consistent guns I've ever used in this game. I like to run an ACOG, vertical grip, and a compensator on it. Just don't find yourself, just because it's 50 round mag, don't find yourself suppressing fire a lot, because it's only got 3 spare magazines, and honestly, you can find yourself fucking yourself over a lot. And stun grenades for his playstyle are much, much more suitable than a claymore. On to our final attacker, being Finka. I had the Sausage 12 equipped because we were trying that out in ranked, and it's honestly really fucking ridiculous. But honestly, if you want to be more competitive, I would recommend using a spear. It's probably the most balanced gun you will ever find in this game. I personally recommend running an ACOG, flash hider, and a vertical grip. And of course, run the PMM and stun grenades I recommend. With all that being said, thank you for watching. I do want to say again, that was all opinion based. That was personally my opinion on it. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe and comment down below what kind of video you would like to see next. I will be posting the Defender side before too long. And with all that being said, thank you for watching and take care.